Hello. There has been a lot of talk out there about protein just lately. You know, protein bars, protein shake. Are you getting enough protein? I have a lovely friend called Carla who's introduced me to cottage cheese. Now, of course, I've known about cottage cheese for some time, but apparently it's really high in protein. Here it is. The thing is, I don't like the stuff. It's kind of lumpy and you know what cottage cheese is like. It's not very inspiring. So I thought I might need to do something about improving my protein intake. And so today I'm going to make a quiche. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. This is, Monday's AI air fryer adventures. And I'm about to make something I've never made before because, it's an adventure. And I'm about to make a quiche. To be more specific, allow me to look at my iPad one moment. Air fryer crustless cottage cheese quiche. Bit of a mouthful, but I'm hoping that it's going to be delicious. So bear with me while I adjust my camera and walk you through the process. According to the instructions, the first thing I need to do is to preheat the air fryer. I'm going to ignore those instructions because this is my air fryer and I need to get this flimsy silicone thing that's going to have quite a lot of liquid in it into there without spilling. So I'm going to put this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly grease it with some olive oil. And I'll have you know that I've bought this particular silicone mold plate thing especially for this recipe because according to this recipe it needs to be 6 or 7 inches in diameter, and I haven't measured it, but this will do. So as you can see, I've lightly greased this and I'm going to plonk it in there and mix everything in this bowl and then pour it directly. I hope that makes sense. So like I said, I'm going to not preheat the air fryer, but if I was to, I'm supposed to preheat it to 170 degrees C or 340 degrees F. Now, I think my air fryer runs a little bit hotter. So whatever you do, just as even though it'll say further on, look, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's just mix the stuff, okay? So the base is, in a bowl, mixed together, 3 large eggs. So here they are, 3 large eggs. And I shall whisk them. That'll do. Then I need to add half a cup of cottage cheese. This lumpy stuff that's apparently full of protein. And good for you. So, okay, that's kind of done. Get in there. Right. Mix together that. And then I can also put in my milk. Now I have here a 1/4 cup of milk. So we'll plonk that in. So you see why I don't want to not have my silicone dish, whatever you call it, or silicone pan, not in the air fryer because, it's kind of drippy, really. Then I need to stir in some onion. So I've got half a cup of pre-chopped because, who wants to watch me chop vegetables? Boring. All right, so there's that. Then I need to have half a red capsicum and half a cup of mushrooms. Okay, confession times, I don't have any mushrooms, but I figure if I just put extra capsicum in, that'll do. So I've put the equivalent of 1 small capsicum into this mixture. I think because it's a quiche, it can be fairly forgiving, so you can add your own vegetables. Have your own adventure, okay? And then I'm going to add in some parsley because it says, you can add it. So I'm just going to do that. It's probably the equivalent of about half a cup of parsley, and I've got the curly leaf because that's all I have in my fridge, but if you want to use the flat leaf, you go right ahead. Okay, so mixing. Now, what would a quiche be without some cheese? So I have got here a curious mixture of grated cheddar and feta. All right, they say it's optional, but oh, for goodness sake, who makes a quiche without any cheese? So, and I've probably been slightly more generous than what I should have been, but it's a very generous full cup of cheese. And like I said, a curious mixture of the cheddar as well as the feta. Now, in terms of flavouring, I've obviously got parsley. I need to do some salt and some pepper. And then for a little bit of oomph, I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. There we go. And I shall mix it again. And look, because now everything's lumpy, it kind of hides the cottage cheese, which makes me feel better. That's nicely combined. And now I shall move my air fryer base so you can see it. And I'm going to pour this mixture, this mixture into the air fryer. And spread it around a little bit. That looks kind of quiche-like, doesn't it? Really? Anyway, it'll be an adventure and hopefully it'll taste a-okay. All in there. Right. Now remember I said to you to preheat your air fryer, which you can do, but I did not. And it says to air fry for 18 to 22 minutes until the top is golden brown and the center is just set. A little jiggle is okay, it firms up as it cools, quote unquote. Thank you, Chat GPT. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it in my air fryer, but I'm going to watch it from about 12 minutes, just because I said earlier that I think my oven runs a bit hot. So you do you, but I don't want to risk burning this darn thing. So I'm just going to keep an eye on it and I'll let you know at the end exactly how long it took. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to clear up this, mess, and I'll get back to you with the finished product. Okay, I've put the quiche in the oven for 12 minutes, but I have brought it out after 11. I don't know quite what to tell you in regards to the time with this recipe. I think ChatGPT got a bit carried away. It said 18 minutes. I reckon if I had left it in there for 18 minutes, it would be burnt to a crisp because, actually, no, let me adjust the camera and I'll bring it back. Sorry for excuse the vertigo potential. There, I think you can see that it looks delightful and golden brown. It's still a little bit jiggly, but I think I'd rather have jiggle than burn. That's all I have to say. So my advice is, if you're going to make this, just put it in for, say, 10 minutes and then watch it, all right? Because, you don't want to, you want it to be delicious and golden brown, not burnt to a crisp. That's all I have to say about that. The recipe does say that you need to kind of let it sit and think for a while. So I guess to pull away from the sides and so that it doesn't collapse in a heap. So I'm going to let that rest for a few moments and then I'm going to serve it and then I'm going to eat it and then I'm going to rate it for you. So bear with. It really is an adventure. So I let it rest for a bit and I've begun to cut it up, but it's not quite right. Bother. I don't know whether it's because I put, you know, more than the expected amount of cheese. But look, let me show you what's happening here. It's still a little bit oozy. So, oh rats. I think I need to put it back into the oven. I'm hoping I don't lose all the delightful golden brown and becomes burnt to a crisp. Let me put it back in the oven for a few minutes, maybe 2, just to firm it up a little bit. Hopefully not burn it. This has been quite an adventure, really. I can't say I'm actually enjoying it, but I have poured myself a glass of wine because, you know, it's dinner time. I'm getting hungry, you know. Anywho, I have put it in for another five minutes. But what I did do was bring the temperature down to 160. And I think that is better. I'm hoping that you would still agree with me that this is, let's adjust the camera, bear with. I'm hoping that you would agree that this is now still golden brown. We'll do it a little bit further down. It's not so oozy or jiggly, if you can see that. You know, because not particularly fond of raw egg. Just saying. Or cottage cheese that's still, you know, doing its thing. Anyway, now I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes and think about itself, and then I will dish up and do like I said that I was going to do before, but this time with a glass of wine in hand. See you shortly. It's been rather an adventure, hasn't it? Thank you very much for bearing with. But this is what it looks like on the plate. So I'm sure it would be quite delicious if you put some bits of bacon in it or any kind of leftover vegetables that you have, you know, because it's a quiche. The main idea was to use cottage cheese so that it's a high protein something to eat. So now the proof in the pudding, or at least the proof in the quiche, doesn't taste any good. So let's grab a little mouthful of it and I shall let you know whether it's any good. Yes, indeed. It is a nice little quiche. So even though it's been a long and drawn out adventure, and apologies for that, but I'm going to blame Chat GPT for getting the time and the temperature wrong. I will put in the description below all the ingredients and the variations that you can use. I'm not too sure what to say about the temperature and the time. I think to be on the safe side, even though I've told you 170, I reckon 160 is probably hot enough. And maybe after, say, 12 minutes, check it diligently, because you don't want it to burn, but you don't want it to be completely uncooked either. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this AI air fryer adventure. I'm going to have my dinner now and enjoy my glass of wine. I think I deserve it after all this adventuring. And yes, see you again soon. Please like, share, and subscribe. All of those. Catch up. Bye.